You know my story, right?
How you doing, brother?
Good, man. How's everything with you today?
Enjoying the journey, enjoying the ride of life.
I grabbed some questions for I grabbed not questions. I prepped a couple topics.
Okay, awesome.
So we'll go with the first one, which would be, and you can say no, you don't feel comfortable talking about it. AI and virtual reality and personal development.
Okay. I feel kind of comfortable talking about anything, which gets me in trouble sometimes.
Let's talk a little bit about it. Yeah, let's talk a little bit about it. I've been in a lot of conversations lately with people about AI specifically, and you know how deep to use it, how much of yourself to give to it, and things like that. So let's talk a little bit about, like, how do you use it on a daily basis, or weekly, or monthly?
I use it usually every other day.
Yeah, same for me. I pretty much use it every day.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Now, when you use it, do you use it both like creatively to like bounce ideas off of, or what kind of aspects do you use it to? And also, do you feel that it accelerates your life? Because I guess what I'm trying to say is, lately I'm getting a little bit more optimistic about AI, because I know that there's negative parts to it. Obviously, jobs will be lost and things like that. But from a human connection standpoint, my perspective is that it's going to eliminate a lot of the mundane tasks that took up a lot of our time. And if we use that time effectively, we could increase human connection.
Yeah. Yeah. This always is an interesting topic to me, because one thing that you said is a lot of jobs will be lost, and that's true. And then there's the other piece that makes me say, how can we effectively serve humanity more intentionally? Because this technology can actually help with that if we get into the belief system of it.
Yeah, there's a lot of aspects to go with it, but I think that when, like, for example, for me, like, I use AI when I'm conceiving a concept of whatever it is business wise, and I use it to gain all the information that I need competitively that's available publicly, as well as all these other things. I'm able to do it in a very short amount of time. So I'm able to come to a very educated decision based on the publicly available data that I can source via ChatGPT. Now, see, I use it as an aggregation to make decisions and stuff like that. I think that there's a really wild thing about that, because I remember not that long ago, if you wanted to do like a market expansion, let's say as a retailer, and you wanted to go to Sedona, Arizona, you would have to pay like $15,000 to $20,000. You probably waited 6 months to a year for the report to come back, and then it would tell you like all the census data and all the. I actually used to make them in the distribution world when I worked in wholesale, and they took forever. And I couldn't believe, like, what used to take me months to create, now I can create it in a day with ChatGPT.
Yeah, yeah. And then I look at, like, because it's condensed time so much, we can literally find ways to serve humanity in a way that I just think a lot of people haven't been effectively served. You know, like, if you're looking at the homeless problem, and again, I haven't researched the heck out of it, but if a person becomes homeless, if a person has PTSD, if a person has any kind of mental challenges or mental instability, as humans, if we can help, let's help. And now that things are condensed so much, we can actually become more creative and find new ways to help the society by teaching them how to effectively think.
Well, and that's exactly it. To tie it into personal and professional development. I mean, if you're stumped on an idea, or you're stumped on whether somebody's thought of something before, or any of these things, like, or you want to find you want to find like understanding of like 15 different articles, and you want to find like understanding of it so you can figure out what that personal development is that you want it to kind of concrete for you. That's the type of stuff that I don't think people are really thinking about as far as AI goes. If you think about AI as the ultimate aggregator of information, what a powerful tool for personal development and professional development.
Oh yeah, it's huge. It's huge.
You know, I mean, think about it. You no longer need to read the 360-page book. Yep. You can like take your exact situation, put it into AI, and tell it within seconds to source all the relative articles and data that relate to your specific situation, as opposed to having to read 17 books that are generally speaking philosophies.
Yep. It's such a powerful thing. Yeah, I 100% agree with that.
The drill down of customization that is allowed with that time saver is what amazes me the most and excites me.
Yep.
We no longer have to have cookie cutter things.
Yep. The thing that, so even in asking me if I use AI and how much I use it, so things are about habits and also the intentionality of the habit. Like, are you looking to get better at the habit? I had a coach back in the day who would say, perfect practice makes perfect. And so when I'm going through this, I'm like, oh, if I ask the right questions in the right sequence and the right way, it will give me the best, it will extract the best knowledge possible. And if I do this on a regular basis with intentionality, I will only get better and better at doing it, speeding up my process more and more. And that's what I love about the personal development journey of using tools to serve you instead of limiting you, because it can go both directions too.
I think you brought up an interesting point about consistency and routine. And I think that's another thing that, you know, in implementing AI into your personal development and professional development, for me personally, I struggle with routines. I really do. And it frustrates me and how much I struggle with them. But when I have a prompter, or I know I have, like, when I'm involved in a sport and I have a coach or anything like that's going on, you know, you have somebody looking, not looking after you, but just depending on what's going on, it helps to motivate you. So if you don't necessarily, if you're a solo entrepreneur and you're alone or in a project or a business, you know, I've found that creating an AI bot to bounce ideas off of and to set certain routines and reminders for me has been very helpful.
Nice. Well, that's pretty cool. So if you're going through routines, because I actually want to play with that a little bit. You said consistency, you struggle with consistency, but the AI helps you with routine. Did I get that right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Because I look at, like, ultimately the greatest struggle for human beings comes down to our emotions. That's what at least I notice as I go through the journey. And when we can figure out, okay, how do we effectively focus our emotions and focus our intentions and focus our mind, things start getting easier and easier as we go through the process. And go, oh, so this is a game about being the best problem solver you can be for others and yourself. Ultimately, like, even in business, you can create a business that serves your customers and doesn't serve you at all. Or you can create a self-serving business and doesn't serve your customers as well. And that's not a very good business at all. It's probably going to go bankrupt quickly. Or you can create something that's going to serve both you and your customers and clients in the most optimal, effective way. And I think optimism comes down to really testing what's working and testing what isn't working. But I like how you were saying AI essentially helps with consistency. If used correctly, it essentially can help with things that we quote unquote don't do so well, right?
So for example, like let's say, you know, it's a weight. Let's say it's a weight thing. And you know,
Mhm.
I want to build a I want to lose 20 pounds in 6 months, and I
Mhm.
just want to do really basic things.
Mhm.
You literally can type that in, and AI will create an action plan for you based on a daily regimen and all the details you give. And I can take that for weight. I can take it for, let's say, ad campaign that I'm doing.
Mhm.
And I want it to help me with the metrics and the data, so I can put in the impressions and the output and the leads and the click rates and the cost per lead. And I put all that in, and then the proposal that used to take forever and the action plan and the Gantt charts and all that stuff. That's all
Mhm.
mundane work, but that all's done now with AI in 5 seconds. And so
Yeah.
what I meant by consistency too is it's not even like an automated prompt that comes through. What I can do is I can put the goal in, and then AI creates all the action plan, mundane tasks that need to be done. And then from there, I can create a checklist.
Yeah. 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 No, it's
That's
cool
the
how it speeds the process up quite like it significantly.
and it helps because then you don't have as many people you need to get into as far as knowing all the different things that go on and stuff like that. But yeah, we'll elaborate more into this in different aspects. I think there's more things. I'll bring up some specifics down the road about like AI generated personal coaching and things like that. There's a lot of that growing with like AI generated bots and avatars that are helping people through. And we can talk more about that in another episode. I just figured we'll kind of skim the surface on AI for a little bit today.
Okay. Sounds good to me.
Um, let's talk a little bit about how about for you specifically, this one's good, emotional intelligence as a leadership tool.
Yeah. Emotional intelligence. You live and die by it. Because if you were to take a fighter and they couldn't emotionally navigate their own emotions, one, the coach is going to have a lot of trouble with that person. Two, the people that are working with that person are going to have a lot of trouble with that person. And three, that person is going to have a lot of trouble in the fight. So there's IQ, which is intelligence, emotional intelligence, social intelligence, and I believe the fourth one is technical intelligence. I might be getting that wrong, but that's what comes to my head. Um, all four are important, but emotional intelligence to me is the one they say in coaching, go to where they're at. Without emotional intelligence, you can't. Maybe with social intelligence, but that just means you're good in social situations. It doesn't necessarily mean you're good at coaching or consulting people. But emotional intelligence is being able to effectively navigate where they're at and also where you're at. I think true emotional intelligence is being able to be aware of if you're acting like a damn fool. I mean, that's the best way that I can put it. Like if I act like a damn fool, I lock myself in a corner somewhere and calm myself down, take a breath so that I can come back and be of service to myself and the society.
How about specifically under emotional intelligence? How about your perspective on the role with empathy in leadership and understanding empathy?
Yeah, this is an interesting topic. So, because this is what I've noticed. You don't actually necessarily have to understand empathy to prompt empathy. And so if a person can give a certain look, they'll feel like they've been gotten, even if the person doesn't get them. So the person literally just has to learn how to look like they're empathizing. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Because the person will feel empathized with because they are prompting the ability to empathize. Now, with that being said, it's way easier to do that if you know how to empathize. It's just going to be a much faster, easier game because an empathizer they're already doing it. But I've seen, like, I'll give you an example. I had one woman, she would give this weird facial expression when she was thinking. And I realized why she was having so much difficulty connecting with people. Because I'm like, your face is saying they're stupid.
Mhm.
Like, it doesn't look like you're saying I'm thinking. It's saying they're stupid. And so once I changed how she did use her facial expressions, it changed how she was able to communicate with people. And so emotional and empathy is also in the face, in the tone, in what you're saying. But what we say is only 7%. The other 93% is the physical, what we see.
I'm glad you brought that up because I've had a couple like different relationships in my life, professionally and personally, where that was always like a tension point of the relationship because I could never read the person.
Yes.
I just and it was like we'd have these deep conversations where I'd be like, "This is how I misunderstood you," and then it would always be that it'd be like, "But you gave me nothing physically," and I'm at fault as well because I read so much into the physical of people. So I think there's one of those things where you can take fault and look at it negatively, or you can realize like those are two different polar opposite personalities, and sometimes you have to have that self-awareness to come to a common ground sometimes.
Yeah, and that's what it is. It's just I believe the self-awareness to say, like, for me, as I've gone through my journey, I've been really, really good at being curious. And in my curiosity, it allows people to share openly and freely. And we all have patterns that just don't serve us, but we also have patterns that do serve us. And when we start becoming really self-aware, we get to say, like, okay, which patterns serve me, which ones don't, and how do I use patterns, or how do I change certain things so they effectively do serve me instead of not serving me. And that's where I go curiosity. Curiosity is king. When you can be curious and not judging yourself or judging others, or, well, this is because you know what you know. You only know what you know. And until you know something different. And the way you know something different is by being really, really curious, listening really, really closely, and asking the right questions.
Where I left off was yeah, recently it's been a lot of people asking about how I build such a safe space on my episodes and how I get people to open up. And I try to think a lot about it and a good answer in response to them, but it's just a natural thing, but I don't do it intentionally. But what you just said actually just struck me a little bit in a good way. Is it's not intentional because I'm just genuinely curious.
Yeah.
And so it's not really a skill that I can train or teach a class on.
Yeah. It's such an interesting thing. So I had one of my clients actually text me about success and failure. And it mentions the importance of leadership and how knowing intentionally how we got the success and knowing intentionally how we got the failure so that we can effectively pass that information on. But I do believe you actually could teach a class on it, and this is why I want to play with you a little bit if you'd be open to it.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so where does your curiosity come from?
I've heard a lot of different reasons from a lot of different places, but I think it's just I don't know where it comes from because it's always been a part of me. And I think I go back to like growing up and traveling a lot. Like we didn't take planes, we drove a lot. So I was constantly driving, and we always did like the off-roads and stuff like that. So I was constantly driving through all these small towns. And I think that was a really big looking out the window and interacting with people and socializing, I think was a big spark in my curiosity.
Okay. And then, do you have a story where being curious really, really served you?
I would say my curiosity served me well in every relationship I currently have. I think it's one of those things where I'm one of those people that follows up. I stay with people that interest me and things like that. And I think that's kind of where I look at the strength of my network is due to my curiosity.
Nice. Okay. And could you, and I know I'm kind of putting you on the spot now, but I'm actually really, really curious about this. Can you share a story, a specific story, with a beginning, a middle, and an end? A beginning of how you showed up, the middle piece, the meat, and then the ending of how you being curious actually served you.
That's a great question. I'll go with, here's what I'll go with. So when I was at Drexel University, I was in their co-op program, which is what majority of all the kids that go to school there are in. And the co-op program, you do 6 months in class and then 6 months in the workforce. And they have a whole co-op department there that sets you up, and it's part of the, like, one of the perks of going there is they set you up with a job. Basically, their big claim at that time was a 90-some% when you graduate, you got placed in a job. And I grew up in a blue-collar family, so that was a great opportunity. And I signed up for the program, and I got signed up for a QVC to do a stagehand job for my first internship. And all of a sudden, I went through and I missed the interview. I got stuck in traffic, and I missed the interview by 15 minutes. And I didn't realize in that interview they also did all these other things that were timed. So 15 minutes meant like you were done. And I was 18 years old at the time, and I wasn't paying attention. And so I lost the opportunity for an internship. And I was like, well, I guess the school said, well, that's what your one shot, and the program's over for that, and then catch up next 6 month cycle. And so that wasn't cool for me. I was like, I'm not waiting around. I got to figure something out. I came here to do something. I came here to accomplish something. I'm going to do it. So I was like, I called back the career development office and I said, so if I book my own internship without your program, does it still count towards credit? And they said, yeah, you can definitely do that. No problem at all. So that was my first intro into cold calling and learning how to data scrape on the internet and stuff. So I went around to every business that seemed interesting and started cold calling them, asking if they would hire me as an intern. And I ended up landing a job at a beer wholesaler called Riglio Beverage in Philadelphia. And that's what actually launched into my 20-year career in the beer industry, was that. No, I never even drank beer prior to that job. So it was one of those things that it was a bit of the universe luck, but also it was my curiosity that kind of drove into what eventually led into a 20-year career in the same industry, from an industry that I had no intention on joining. Yeah, I wanted to make commercials and work for QVC and do all kinds of other stuff. I had no intention on being in the beer industry.
I love that. Yeah, and so what I've seen is when we're able to share a story with others that has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it has an outcome of what does having this paradigm shift do for me, because that's what's going on in their head anyway, like, what does this do for me? They'll be more inclined to take it on. And I started looking at the reason stories are so powerful is because back in the day when we would be around the campfires, that's how we got knowledge across to each other, was through stories.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I don't think enough about sometimes is that structure. And I'm such a anti-conformity, anti-structure person that sometimes the message gets lost because of the structure is not activated in certain situations when you're telling a story. So I definitely can see the value in that. And I do a lot. I'm intrigued very much about, obviously, about storytelling, especially generational verbal storytelling and how it evolves over time.
Yep, yep. And I'll also say, like, this is how crazy this is. The subconscious mind. So you have a background as a wrestler, right?
Right.
All right. Was there structure there?
Oh, 100%. And that's the funniest part. I acknowledge, completely am self-aware that, like, I excelled within that structure.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So you actually do well in structure, but the structure has to serve you. And then I go, wait a minute, everyone does well in structure. The structure just has to serve them. So I got to ask the questions on, okay, what's going on in their subconscious mind for them to believe one story and not believe another story.
Mm-hmm. And I think that also comes into how the story is presented, as well as the experience of the receiver of the story.
Yep.
And the more general the story is, the more you leave that opportunity for interpretation, and then that's where the message can get lost.
Yeah, true. And what I look at, like, if I was going to create structure for you, this is what I definitely would not do. I would not give you an ABC XYZ. It would drive you nuts. But I would allow you to give you flow and artistic control of your life, although that doesn't work with everybody. Some people absolutely want structure. Like, just give me the thing. Give me the thing and I'll follow it.
Yeah. And I've known a lot of people like that, and I'm always jealous of those people. Like, seriously jealous, because I want that life where it's like, give me a day where somebody hands me a task list and I just achieve it. And I'm like, and I'll do that. I'll set my own list for the day, but then I'll add 30,000 things.
Yeah, I'll tell you, like, I go, entrepreneurship is interesting, because at one time I wanted to be a quarterback, and I did not have the height nor the arm nor the eyes to be a quarterback. And I could have worked on getting those things, but I really just didn't want them bad enough. So what I did was I focused on being me, and I was as intentional with being the best me that I could be. Like, okay, who does Clifford want to really be? And then I went balls to the wall on that character, creating that character. And there was a Shark Tank, I don't remember the woman's name, but Mr. Wonderful, he goes, you sound very, like you could be very unorganized. And she goes, yes, I am. And that's why I keep organized people around me.
Yep.
And Barbara was like, oh, wow, touche.
That's I'll give credit on the record. I mean, that's 100% both activated by himself, as well as me and my self-awareness in the past year or so, is bringing my partner on for the network.
Yeah.
He's very structured and very and we actually just had a structure meeting this morning where we're implementing some new policies, and we opened it up acknowledging how he knew I was cringing going into the meeting and stuff. But we're using HubSpot and CRM and setting up some systems and workflows and stuff. So I'm open to it. So it's outside my comfort zone, but I'm open-minded.
Can you hear me? I heard HubSpot and then it cut out.
I was just saying I'm open to all the systems and structure that we're getting ready to start implementing.
Yeah, and so this is what I do with my mind. This really, really helps me. I just focus on what I'm doing, and I focus on loving what I'm doing. So this is what I mean by that. If I can love what I'm doing in the moment, my brain will find reasons to love it.
Nice.
Yeah. And one of my own clients, actually, my clients and David Goggins showed me how well I work at what I do. I didn't even know that I was doing this. So one of my clients, he's like, yeah, I listened to what you said, and you would say, you go, I can have this, but not today. just not today. Because the brain can deal with that. It's when we say, okay, I'm going to stop this for 120 days, like the brain goes, oh, God.
Right.
That sucks. But when you go, okay, today I can do this. Or I can have this, just not today. It allows the brain to go, oh, okay, well, yeah, we could do this for a day. And so then David Goggins is sharing this story about how they would do these like hell 180 hours or something crazy, because, you know, Navy SEALs. And what they do is they get them firing guns the first day. And it gets their adrenaline up. They're going crazy. They're running around shooting these guns. And then the next hour, they're in this like really cold ocean. And I mean, they're freezing. And he goes, you gotta just focus on the moment. Like, okay, this is a moment. Because if you focus on, holy crap, I have 178 hours left of this, it breaks. It breaks a person. But if they just focus on the moment that they're in, it's not so bad. And so organization, we all realize organization is important. It's just, we have strengths and weaknesses. But if we go into a meeting going like, all right, I'm excited to be a part of this meeting because it's going to do this, this, and this. Your brain will find reasons to be excited about it instead of like, oh, I dread this thing. Oh my goodness, this sucks. Like, your brain's going to find reasons that it sucks too.
I think there's a lot of merit in there. That's a good closing part there, because I think that one thing I'd like to talk about in another episode and kind of use this, I guess, maybe as a lead in too, is maybe we can elaborate on the next episode as far as where you just closed out there with talking about dopamine. Mm-hmm. And how that kind of affects things from a professional and personal development.
I like it.
That's good. I like that. All right, man. I dig it.
Awesome, my brother.
All right, man. Hey, we'll close out on that one, and I owe a bunch of clips out. I apologize. Things just got a little carried away the past couple of days as far as workload goes, but I'll be chopping up. Last week's episode went live on Friday. I just didn't chop up any clips, so I'm going to have those chopped up tonight and start putting those out each day.
Okay. Well, we adjust as we adjust.
Absolutely, man.
I get it.
Absolutely, man. All right, brother. I'll talk to you, man.
Brother. Talk soon.
All right.
Catch you later.
You know my story, right?